What's on the menu? A big ass summer barbecue with Persona 5 Strikers. Persona 5 Strikers is an action role playing game developed by Omega Force and Peace Studio, published by Atlus. The game is a crossover between Koei Tecmo's Dynasty Warriors franchise and 2016's Persona 5. It's set 6 months after the events. So, for our first take, let's go to Russ.
Well, for these kind of games, so I've been actually debating about this for probably 24 hours. I don't know if I like or dislike this game. Um, I'm not a big hack and slash game guy. I don't like that very much. But there are abilities and stuff that don't make it so hack and slash that that's all you're doing is mashing buttons. There's actually some technique to some of it. There's actually some style to it. There's grabbing things and dropping down. There's the personas themselves. I don't even want to go into that. I'm probably going to let somebody who's played much more of the game. I only got about 6 hours of gameplay in. I'm very disappointed in myself in this game with the lack of gameplay I got into it. But it's another one of those games where if it wasn't for reviewing, I would have never looked at it, because normally I don't like Japanese anime as much as the other group. Please don't kill me, everybody. But the the cutscenes are gorgeous. I do like the artwork in this game. It's got a pretty neat storyline along with it as well. I really do wish that I would have got a little bit deeper into the game before this review, but I didn't. But I will definitely be going to play more of this. This is going to stay installed, and I'm going to continue to play some more. That's just my first kind of words about it. I'm going to throw it over to Patrick and see what he has to say about it.
I will start this out by saying that Persona 5 is up there as one of my top favorite PlayStation games of all time. I love Persona 5. Um, I'm honestly going to say I don't like Strikers. I'm having a hard time with Strikers. I do not like the Dynasty Warriors style combat. I'm over that, and that's what this game has a lot of. It's you play as Joker, but you can also tag in and tag out of any one of the other party members that you bring with you. You can bring up to 4 party members with you, not including Joker, and you can tag in and out. The problem is that the combat just moves so quick that sometimes it's hard to remember what button they want you to push to call up your persona or to do a special attack. So um, for me, this one's falling flat. And I love Persona. I love the Persona series and Persona 5, but this game is that, as Shane had mentioned, it's kind of like a cross between Dynasty Warriors and Persona. I love the turn-based combat of Persona 5. I'm not liking the non-turn based, the hack and slash combat of this one. Before we get into too much on the game, I want to get Nick's initial impression. Nick, what was your initial impression of this game?
Yeah, I pretty much in line with you, Patrick. I'm kind of, but more in line in Russ's kind of on the fence feel about the game. I'm kind of on the fence there. I don't mind the Dynasty Warriors type combat as much as you might, but I don't think this particular. The thing I love about Persona 5 is the combat there, which was turn based. I like that turn based combat, and that's kind of what I knew this one didn't have it, so I already knew that going in. I just didn't know it was going to be that Dynasty Wars combat, which can work in some instances, and this kind of works in a way, but they introduce a lot of mechanics to you, like right off the bat. And I agree, Patrick, that the fighting is so chaotic that you don't have, unless you just know it by muscle memory, you're not going to know. It's even hard to keep track of how much health your characters have. You have to maintain all 4 characters on the screen as well as combating, and there's so many enemies and so much going on that, like, your guy might die, and you're like, wait, was he low on health? I didn't even notice, or like, what button do I press again to bring my persona ability up? So that's just how it made me feel. I like the story so far. I didn't get to play it as much as I typically do in most of these games. I didn't get to play it a super ton, but I like the story. I like the area that you go to in the story, which I'm sure we'll get to. And I love all the characters that Persona 5 has and all the personas and all that stuff. I love all that. All that's great. It's the combat portion, I think, overall in this game that's really just lacking in the fact that, for me, you really got to be a fan of that type of combat. And again, like you guys, I'm not really a big fan of that Dynasty Warriors combat. And mostly with most Dynasty Warrior combat games, it's usually just button mashing. X for normal attacks, Y for big attacks, and then you have a few skill buttons that you can press. This game is like, oh, you can do this. I mean, like every 5 seconds, it's a tutorial on how you could do something else, right? And you're just like, wait a minute, hold on. I haven't even learned the first thing you taught me, right? How do I summon a persona again? That was like the first thing you told me, and I don't even remember how to do that. So this game just seems like they tried to take all the actions of the turn-based combat, as far as all the skills and various things you can do, and implement them into this frantic action game, which I don't think works out so well. So, unfortunately, this game is fun. I like everything else about it. It's just the combat's just way too much. It's way too much going on with that.
All right, Shane, what do you think, man?
I couldn't agree any more with everybody here. Love Persona. Like I was telling you guys before we started, it's like, did not realize this game is set 6 months after the events of 5. I haven't finished 5, haven't even started 5, so I kind of ticked my butt. The combat this game isn't designed for this type of combat system. This combat system is really old. Plus, they tried to, initiate the Persona, gameplay to it as well. It doesn't work. If they wanted to put an action variant to it, they should have went more of a Final Fantasy route. Even the remake would have been better off. Like 15 would have been, control-wise, would have been better. I think it was a novel ideal, but I think instead of remaking 5 400 times or trying to do the striker things, go 6. Make me a 6. Let me finish 5, but make me a 6. I'm disappointed. But one thing Persona will always be is beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. So
what an oddity!
I don't know.
What a strange oddity that the four of us actually. I mean, like, I really thought coming into the podcast today that I would be the one to be the poo-pooer, even though I'm not quite the full poo-poo. I'm like a quarter poo-poo, but I really thought. I just keep wanting to say poo-poo, but like it's just. I really thought coming into this one that I would be the one that's going to be kind of not happy with the game, I guess. Not that I'm not happy. I'm just, it's not there. I mean, when we played Yakuza, like, I was almost hoping for something, because I know I played Persona 5 a little bit. I didn't play near as much as I wanted to, and I knew this was going to be kind of like a hack and slash. I knew that too as well, Nick, coming into it, that it was going to be a hack and slash. And I was like, well, maybe it'd be okay. And it's gorgeous. The sound is wonderful. Everything is great to it, but you're right. Like, the first 2 hours of gameplay, there is new moves and new abilities introduced into the game. 2 hours. And you got to get through some RP, but RP is sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And I really didn't mind the RP. This is like the first game in probably the last 5 or 6 games we played where the RP hasn't had me struggling in the first, 2 hours of the game. It was actually the fact of, like, I had a little notepad. I was like, okay, no. I mean, I'm joking. I didn't, but it was like you almost had to have those notes, like those notes from Star Wars Galaxy's times where all the good resources were. You had to try to figure that out. But anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, the game, and I agree with Nick and all y'all. I mean, the game has so many abilities that they have to list them at the bottom of the screen while you're playing, so you could be like, oh, how do I summon my persona? Oh, that's half the time I would try to summon my persona, and as Joker, I'd pull out my pistol and start shooting. I'm like, no, I want my persona, not shoot them, and I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's just like Nick said, it's everything. It's everything from Persona 5, but it's also hack and slash. I mean, I don't mind
Everything it
Dynasty.
isn't.
I don't mind Dynasty Warriors as much as I sound like I don't like it, but I agree with Nick. It does not fit with this game. There's too much going on there's too many buttons. If it was just, heavy attack, light attack, special attack, it'd be perfectly fine for a hack and slash type game. But it doesn't have
Right.
that. It has your normal attack, your special attack, your ranged attack, your persona attack, your tag ins, your tag outs, your pull up your menus, your um, you got to keep watching on the screen for group skills so that if you happen to crit somebody, you can do an all out attack by pressing O. Um,
Yeah.
or you wait for your meter to build up to build a showstopper, and you can do a showstopper attack. I mean, it's just there's too much going on to be just this rambunctious hack and slash game. And I agree with Nick. There's many times where I got done with the fight, and I'm like, oh, Joker's almost dead. How did I let that happen? I was like, I don't remember getting hit.
Right.
Yeah, it almost deserves a Dead or Alive training mode. On the side you have all your lists when you're doing the training mode for Dead or Alive. Have everything you can do. It's all right here. That's what you need on that game because you're right. It does. It throws a lot at you very quickly, and my brain doesn't. I got to build the muscle memory before I work to the next skill set or maneuver or technique that you can do. I just can't, boom, 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 boom like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, one thing that, Persona 5 also had a lot of tutorials and also had a lot of things to learn too. But the thing that's different between that and this is Persona 5 again was that turn-based combat. So you could sit there because it was your turn. You could sit there and think about, okay, they mentioned something about this. Let me look through the menus real quick because you had time to do that during combat. So you could figure out, okay, I need to use this or I want to use that or do I really want to do that? And so you had a chance or that time frame to figure out what moves you were going to or how you were going to defeat this enemy. Whereas this is just kind of like you constantly have to be on the move and constantly have to be attacking and then think about while you're doing that what spells or personas or switching characters or this, that, or other, or showstoppers or all outs or ambushes versus getting attacked head on and all this type of stuff, and then what type of elementals that particular enemy is weak against versus this, and you're like, okay, what am I fighting first? Oh, I'm fighting a pixie. Well, it's weak against fire. Maybe I need to throw that out because it's going to throw lightning, and I don't need to use that lightning ability. Don't use Skull because he throws lightning. It's like, and you're just like, it's just way too much information. It's information overload is what it is when you're trying to figure out how to do a fight.
Yep.
And next thing you know, either your party's wiped or you wipe the enemy by the time you figured out what you're going to do. And so it's just like, well, there we go. On to the next thing. So the combat is really what drags it down. I mean, as far as everything else goes, like, you go into the jail, which is basically like a palace if you're familiar with Persona 5. And the jail's cool. It's like a bit, it's like the palaces in Persona 5 were these small kind of interactive areas, that tell the story of the person that you're going after. The jail's like this big, open, sprawling palace, basically, that you can come in and out of as you'd like with these checkpoints that you find throughout the jail, which is a really cool idea, and I really like that. So it's like, I just wish it was turn-based, like, give me a DLC where I can just make it turn-based. I'm down. I'm down to play this.
I'm with you on that one. Yeah, I agree because everything that they've added is cool. I like the concept of being able to, save at a save point in the jail and leave and refresh everything because in the beginning the jails are long. They're a lot longer, like you said, than the palaces. The palaces are really short. You go in, you find the treasure, you change their heart. And this one, it's all about the jail, you go to here and you're like, oh, I can't go this way. I got to go back in the first one, go back, turn the power off, and then go back and try to work my way back to where I was at so I can get around the spotlights and all that stuff. And then, they added like the bond system which is new. And that was kind of cool.
Right.
I'm like, all this stuff is cool, but it just moves too fast. And the only way that you actually slow the game down is when you pull up your persona, and it'll actually kind of pause the game and give you like a layout of everybody that's on the screen, their weaknesses and strength. But it's like, at that point, you're just like, what does Ryuji do again? Or what does, Futaba do again? You're like, I need to swap through because this guy is weak to this. But in all honesty, as far as I've played through there, I haven't done a whole lot of swapping. I don't know about you guys, but I've played mostly as Joker and stayed playing as Joker. I very rarely swapped over. I mean, I swapped over to the sword. I always forget her name, but the girl who's got the swords, and I played her a little bit. And I tried to play Futaba, but I didn't like her style, But for the most part, I stayed as Joker.
So you're playing them more just because you want to check out their fighting style versus a strategic or tactical advantage.
Right. Yep.
That's where I found myself doing that. That when I finally realized that you could start switching guys, I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's cool." I played with that person for a minute, and then it's very difficult. It's almost like if we were to set up some type of machine that has like a shoe, like two shoes, and just mashed buttons and walked away, it'd be like our third party macro thing, and we would still beat the game, because that's how I feel. I don't like a game that makes me feel like I beat a level or I beat a part just by mashing buttons. I don't feel like I'm really playing a game. I'm just mashing buttons. And that's what I felt like I was doing, especially early on. Now, I learned some tactics with it, but very much early on, I just don't like that feeling, that button mashing feeling.
Right. I mean,
Why do you think...
Go ahead, Shane.
Go ahead, Pat.
I was going to say, I don't...
No, I was just going to ask.
I was just going to say
ahead.
that, I knew going into this that it was not a turn-based combat game, but I thought they would simplify the combat, like Nick said. That was my big anticipation. I'm like, okay, I understand it's not turn-based combat. So I'm going into it because I kept hearing Dynasty Warrior style combat. I'm like, okay, I'm going to control this platoon of characters, but I'm really going to control the one that I picked to play, and everybody's going to act on their own and cast their own personas and stuff. But I'm going to be mashing like 3 to 4 buttons, but that's not the case. I'm mashing all 4 buttons plus the R1, R2, L2, L1, L2, the D-pad all the way around to pick my character. So, I mean, I went into this with the expectation that it was going to be a brawler type game, but I came away with the impression that they don't want you to play this with your hand. They just want you to smash your face on the controller and roll it around, because I don't know how else you can play this game without going, okay, I just did a regular attack. I did a special attack. I did a range attack. I did a persona attack, and now my guy's out of SP. I need to go. I need to get some more spare. I need to swap over to somebody else. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you could play this. Yeah, you could play this game like track and field. I mean, just. I mean, that's pretty much it for me. So why do you think they changed the formula? I mean, do you think they're trying to? I don't know, garner more fan base? I mean, by switching...
They just had I think
it's a new genre.
I think they have it's not really a new genre. I mean, they said it's a mix.
I mean, for the series, it's a new genre, sorry.
Well, I mean, it's probably just like anything else. It's a money grab, just like anything else. It's like, well, they already had all the models. They had everything together. They probably already have another game that has that basis or that code for the hack and slash part of it. I mean... I don't know much about Atlus, so, they probably had something right there, and then they threw it together, and there you go, Bob's your uncle. I mean, the cutscenes were fantastic. They were gorgeous. I mean, like I told you guys, I'm not a huge anime fan, but the last couple of games, those cutscenes and everything have been really, really good.
I think they were kind of go for... Well, I mean, this one was made by Koei, and Koei is definitely familiar with that, Dynasty Warriors and...
Well, I mean, I thought this was Omega Force and P Studio. P Studio did the development for the original.
I thought it was Koei on there.
It's Omega Force and P Studio.
Yeah, Koei. Yeah, but
I don't think Koei was in on
is
this
part
one.
of it, though.
Or
No,
maybe
it's
not.
Omega
Yeah,
Force and
it's
P
co.
Studio.
Well, it's sorry. I apologize. Yeah, but it's the
I
Koei
guess
comes
they're.
because
I guess
it's
Omega Force.
essentially they were going for Dynasty.
I guess when I looked up, I didn't
Oh,
realize this.
sorry.
Omega Force is a division of Koei Tecmo. So yeah, I guess
Okay,
for
well
all
there
intents,
you
they're
go.
Koei. So
And
yeah,
all it down is Koei, but basically, so I mean, I think they were kind of
Yeah,
going off the Hyrule Warriors, because Hyrule Warriors was that Koei Dynasty
a piece
Warrior
of crap.
type of combat. Now, I played the Hyrule Warriors, and in that, it was very much like it is very good, but it's good in the sense of like it's more Dynasty Warriors, where it's that open world kind of or open area where you have that big group of enemies, and then in that, like as Link, you have a heavy attack, a strong attack, maybe like the trigger maybe does like or if you run, which is like just like double clicking forward or whatever, and then you hit one of the triggers, he'll
Yeah.
slide on his shield, and then you have like one of the other triggers that pulls up the book, if you ever play Breath of the Wild, or the tablet, right, where you can do your different abilities like ice or the magnet or whatever, right? And that's it. And that's really easy to learn for a person. It's like, okay, cool. Like all this is going on. X does that, Y does that. I can hit this trigger and pull up my abilities. And I felt like, it feels like this game should have been some more of that in line with that, right? It almost feels like they tried to take all the Persona 5 turn-based abilities that were in Persona 5 and just translate them into an action game, which doesn't work. Final Fantasy, think about Final Fantasy 7 Remake, which Shane brought up. That was turn-based, but they made the combat action combat, and they simplified the combat, right? They didn't take all the stuff from the turn-based of Final Fantasy 7, say, okay, now it's action combat, but you have everything else. No, they simplified it by saying you pull this trigger and you can throw out fire, right? You pull this trigger and you can use an item. That's it, right? And so that was like, oh, okay, cool, I get that. And then the other, you could swap characters in Final Fantasy 7 Remake, but again, they all had the same move set, and they all had the same type of abilities, and they all had the same button layouts. Whereas this one, it's like when you move from Joker to someone else, it's almost like you're playing a brand new character with brand new move sets and brand new abilities, and it's very, there's a lot of characters in this game, and it's very hard to learn what every single character is good for. One of the first things when you get into the jail and you can explore it yourself, and it's like you can change your group members here, kind of like Patrick was alluding to, how he hadn't really changed out his characters, and it's like, well, what characters do I bring with me? I don't know this area. Like, what am I going to fight? What do I need to bring with me? I don't know. Even going through some of the jail and stuff and getting to the different checkpoints, I still don't know who I need to bring with me. There's a variety of enemies that do different things, so it's almost like just whoever I feel like I want to bring along.
well, and I was gonna say the game rewards you for sticking with the same characters, because the game has the mastery system in it now, which allows you to, if you're controlling a character, you get more moves the more times you play with them, and you only build mastery by playing with that character. It's like when you play Joker, he's got like 4 masteries, which are new attack abilities, and the same thing for the other characters. But you only get those abilities by manually playing those characters. So they almost kind of push you to play the same 4 characters, or the same 5 characters, I say, because you bring 4 with you plus Joker, so 5 characters. So they kind of push you to almost bring the same characters along over and over and over. And that's what I did, honestly. I always played with Sophie, the new one. Why do I always forget her name? The source swashbuckling chick, I bring her, and then
I can't remember her name either.
Ryuji, and then the other girl in the cat costume. I don't ever bring Morgana.
Lady Anne.
Lady Anne, there you go. I always bring Lady Anne.
Yeah.
But I don't, but on top of the combat, they just throw everything at you. When you think of the menu when you're outside of combat or even in the jails, you open up that menu and you've got Bond, you've got this, you've got that, and they introduce Bond to you, which is a new thing for this one. And then they also reintroduce the Velvet Room, which allows you to merge personas and execute personas to combine them. And I think there's a new one that wasn't in the fifth one. I don't remember if there was always three options with them. No, yeah, you used to not be able to resummon personas, right? In Persona 5, it's been so long. I didn't think you can do that in Persona 5. But in Strikers, if you use one of that, you can resummon them for money. You pay yen, and you can resummon them at the ability that they were stored or summoned upon, which is, I thought was new. I don't remember you being able to do that before. But I got to the point to where I barely use my personas because I that they tried to do this stupid tactical overlay thing that I just don't think worked, which was when you went to summon your persona, it would do the tactical pause to try to let you set things up. But I found that for the most part, unless I just picked on an enemy that was red, that conned red when I was in the foresight thing, I just ran through and slashed them all to death all the time. It didn't make any sense for me to use my SP on them.
Well, then you have to remember what your hitbox is within that persona. And if you have like 12 different freaking abilities, you're like, well, let's see. If I do a cleave, I'll remember this. But if I do this, it's absolutely absurd. I mean,
Some of them are cleaves, some of them are AoEs, and some of them are just
Yep.
single direct attacks. And you got to remember that. And you can swap out personas that you have loaded up on the fly. You know,
I mean, you can pause. I mean, I get it. We get the moment to pause. I understand that, but it's still just. I mean, I don't want to sit there for 5 minutes trying to figure out exactly which one I want to use, and everything that you just said, Patrick. Everything is an RPG, a turn-based functionality that we've seen in so many of them, and it's just not that we as gamers can't understand it. It's just it's convoluted when all you're wanting to do is just hack and slash everything.
well, yeah, because I found what my go-to move was that I always ambushed, and right after an ambush, you always can do an all-out attack. You just have to time it right, and unless you picked on something that conned as a super hard or red con, it it died almost instantly. The yellows maybe took one more hit, but usually I would do that, do the all out attack, and then just my team would clean them up by the time I decided what I wanted to do next.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I definitely wish this game would have went. If they wanted to go a new direction, they should have went. I think more towards a true action RPG instead of this mishmash.
right.
I don't like it. I'm just. It's hard to be a fan of this. It's like Final Fantasy has always made changes and adaptations and, tweaks and, throughout the entire generation. But Persona 5, they've made updates and upgrades, but they've never taken it that far. And this is like a whole new beast. And that might be one reason I don't like it so much. But they should have went Final Fantasy action compared to what they did here. Because like you were saying, Nick, Final Fantasy, the action elements of it are very intuitive and simple. And you could adapt the Persona stuff to it a lot easier, I think, with that kind of a scheme.
Right. And I mean, I would have loved this game if they just would have made it this story and, some of the new. I do like the Bond thing. That's really cool. It's like, oh, where am I going to spend my points at? Let me see here. Oh, do I want to pick that? I'm not sure. That's pretty cool, but so is this. I like that, and I like building that up. And like, okay, how am I going to spend my points in this system? And I like some of the additional additions, and I like the new character they added. I like Sophie or Sophia, depending on where you're at. Which if you're in the real world or the metaverse. But I like that new character. So I like everything that's going on here. I just wish they would have just made. I love Persona 5, so just take that and put it in this with the new stuff, and there you go. You got a game I'm down for.
Right. I don't know why they just couldn't have been Persona 5.1, or if they wanted to call this one Persona 6, why not just make it? I would have paid $60 for a new Persona game because I love Persona 5. I mean, I put so many hours into Persona 5 on the PlayStation. I mean, I beat it, and I came back looking for more, and I was like, oh, the story kind of ended, and they're splitting up. What happens to the gang? I want to see them, and now they're all together again, and the story was getting really good, and then I got into my first jail, and I'm like, what is this? I'm struggling here. I mean, for the most part, the jails are easy. I have not run into a whole lot in the jail that was hard. I mean, you run across those singular enemies that are supposed to be hard, but I also had problems with the targeting. I don't know if you guys had a lot of them, but a lot of times when you go to fight a mini boss or an intermediate boss, he'd be commingled in with all the little guys. And it's like, well, you can push R3 to target him. And I'm like, okay, R3. And I targeted some pixie off in the corner, or I targeted this. I'm like, I want to target the big guy. Let my team mop those little guys up. Let me focus on him. But it just never could target him cleanly until I cleaned up all the ads first.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys ran into that same stuff.
How many?
That was a frustration. The very first, but then again, I only got to like the very first jail was really actually not too hard. I mean, it was not that difficult. It wasn't until later that it got a lot harder.
Yeah, they just throw.
How
too
many
much at you.
iterations of? Yeah, how many iterations are there of Persona 5?
And they're just two.
Well, this
Three,
is just
right?
two. This is just the
two.
second iteration.
Is it
Yeah.
2? Because I've got the Royal Edition.
Well,
That's
the
true.
Royal
I thought
Edition,
there was 2 before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just Persona 5, but it has additional stuff in it.
right.
It has additional everything in it.
Yeah.
Apparently, the the Royal Edition has like a fully tweaked story compared to the previous iteration. So I was just wondering.
Well, yeah, because Persona,
But, like Pat said, make it a 5.5.
right, or something. I mean, because Persona 5 came out with this one, and then they had that dancing Starlight.
Oh,
I can't
yeah.
remember what it was called.
Yeah. That was like
But,
the rhythm game,
remember
I
that.
believe, right?
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, the Royal Edition was just supposed to be an enhanced version of the PlayStation 4 original one. It's similar to like the Gold Edition that they had before. Was it Persona? That was what Persona 4 did. Persona 4 did a
Yeah.
Golden, and Persona 5 did a Royal, is what they did, which is basically similar. It's kind of supposed to be more updated, like polished type stuff. I don't know if they actually did they put more stuff in it?
I think
actually
they do
remember.
have some additional story elements and some additional
I
stuff
thought they
in there,
did.
but I don't think it was enough to like say it's a whole new game per se, but it is like I think extra story beats and some DLC and various other rearranged aspects of the game.
Oh yeah, look, I just found it. Yeah,
Like
it
the
adds a
one
new
true
character.
edition.
Yeah, it adds a new character, Kasumi Yashizawa. Okay, a new palace. So it added a new palace and a new character. So
Yeah, like a DLC and I think some
Yeah.
other stuff it did to it as well.
okay,
But
I never got the Royal Edition. I played the original and I beat it. And like I said, I'm very rarely am I a DLC person, and I think the Royal Edition was full cost when it came out. So I'm like, meh, I'm not going to do that. I've already got it.
Yeah, I picked it up for $20. Persona is always a great series. I don't think I've ever bought it brand new though. Because it's always one I know I can get later.
It was one of those
Still
games when I got
enjoy.
my PlayStation 4. I don't even remember how it happened. Nick, you may have told me about it, and that's the only reason I got it because I agree with Shane. I used to just buy the other Personas when they went on sale, but I would say that Persona 5 is like miles above the other Persona games. I mean, I could not stop playing that one, whereas the
I've
other
heard
ones
that.
I played them and they were okay. You know.
yeah.
Now I feel like
I
going back
definitely want to
25
give
now.
5 a try.
5 is awesome. I love
I've
5.
got it. I just haven't had a chance to play.
I think I started and it just was like it was right when we were kind of kicking up the podcast, and it was like, well, now I've got to find time to play all the games that we're reviewing and stuff like that. So it's like it's kind of gone by the wayside for now. But yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Right now, this game I would consider it a sell game, and it would need to get down to about $29.99 to $30 maybe. I'd pay for it, and even then, I mean, at $30, not knowing what I know now, I would pay $30. I mean, just because of the name that goes along with it, and I think, like you said, there are some elements that are pretty cool about it, but I'd say $30 price point for me at least. I mean, at the maximum, I should say.
Yeah,
Oh man, that's rough. I would throw it at $15, and it has to have all DLCs.
What DLCs? There's no DLCs yet.
It's such a
I mean, I think
Well,
the artwork,
there will
the,
be.
art,
10 years
the,
down
the
the line.
artwork
Yeah.
and the cutscenes in it. I mean,
Yeah.
all of that in itself. I mean, they put some. I mean, I think that's where some of the worth is for me in the story. I think that's why I say that the combat is rough. We've said that a few times
I
now.
mean, I really, really,
Yeah, it doesn't matter how pretty that package is if it's ugly on the inside.
I really wanted to love this game. I mean, I cannot state how much I love Persona 5. And I'm with Dick. You need to put out a $10 DLC so I can swap to turn-based combat mode. I would pay for that just so I could, because I really want the story of this one. I'm like getting back into the whole group, getting together again, and I'm like, oh cool, we're gonna go do some more cool stuff. And now I get into the combat, and I'm like, it feels like a slog through molasses to get through it. I'm just like, I'm finding when I first started it, I was like, okay, I was attacking just about anything I could find, just to get through it. It's hopefully that it would, as Nick and everybody said, get that muscle memory going where I'm jumping into combat and I'm remembering what R2 does versus L2 and R1 versus L1 and all this stuff. But I found that after you go back to the first jail and you're going towards the power station, I found that after I got to the power station and worked my way back, I was avoiding most anything I could because I was over the combat system. So I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to get into it to beat this one like I did Persona 5, the original. I really want the story, but I don't know if I can deal with the combat to get through the story. I'm with Russ, though.
If they would
Sale game.
have made some different choices, how much of a sell would you go though? Knowing what you do now.
I honestly couldn't pay more than $20 for it, knowing what I know now, because I don't even think it's good. It's not even going to hold my attention for $30 worth of time. I mean, I want the story, and I don't know if I can push through the combat for the story. If I can push through the combat for the story, I would pay $30, but I just don't know right now. Right now, I'm going to say $20 because that's what I've put into it, in my opinion.
That's tough.
Yeah, Nick, what do you think, man?
All right, Nick, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely agree it's a sell game. I mean, I bought it at full price, of course. I'm not a big fan of the combat, but again, I like everything else that's going on with it. I would probably put it at a $40 buy for myself. I think at $40, it would be pretty. If it was on sale for $40, I'd say, go ahead and get it. Pick it up.
You wouldn't
and give
be
it a try.
mad after spending $40 on it.
I don't think so. I mean, as much as it's not like the combat for me is not like, it's not a break for me in a way, right? I don't really care for it, and it's not really my cup of tea, and it is too chaotic, like we've talked about. But I could push myself through it because I do like every other aspect of the game. Like everything else is good. The stories so far is really good. All the different, the new systems they've added and things like that are really cool. And I like the exploration too. I think that's pretty fun. So I think graphically and the cutscenes and all the voice acting and everything like that is, again, the same people from Persona 5. So I think everything else has got going for it is top notch. It's just the combat's what's lacking. So I would spend $40 through it and just power through it.
So at the full price, then does that mean that you are going to beat it? Then, since if at $40 you can make it through there, are you going to try to push through this one? Do you think, to get the story?
Yeah, I think I'm going to continue playing it. I was playing it before the podcast, and I think he was trying to tell me something. I was playing it through the podcast, and. And I was really I was really having a fun time. And again, it was a fun time exploring. I liked exploring and going through the jail, and then again, I was kind of doing the same thing you were, Patrick. I was only getting into fights where I needed to and kind of avoiding other fights, but I wanted to continue. I wanted to see what else was going to happen with the story. So the story was intriguing enough that I would slosh through the combat just to figure out what's going on and what happens with everything. Because I think they really have an engaging and interesting story, and everything else about it's really cool. So,
yep. I mean, they've updated some things. You're no longer going shopping in shops. You're shopping online. You know, you can order anything you want online
Right. You
with
can still
instant
you
delivery.
can still buy some from some
Right.
some
You can.
from some shops.
But you're buying mostly, I should say gear. You're buying mostly gear online.
Right.
So with instant
Yeah.
delivery, which is what we all want in life, right? I wish I could
Oh,
have
yeah.
Amazon and it would be here
It's
as quick as that.
It's with the drones, you know.
Yeah. Just fly in and drop my gold brick. You know, I want my gold bar, you know?
Off the dark web.
They'll bill you later, yeah. You know, I'll
Yeah.
bill you later, but I don't want to be billed later. I'll just take the gold bar. You know?
Right?
So,
To sell that gold bar to pay that bill.
right, you know. So Shane, what about you, man? Where are you at on this game? On buy, sell, you know?
And like I said, $15 with any DLC that's available at that time. It's, I don't know. Nick can push through. Nick could push through a pile of razor blades just to play one game. I mean, he's just that dedicated. I'm not. I don't think the combat allows me to pay anything more than that. The story and stuff, yeah. I mean, it's all Persona. I mean, so you know it's good. It's just, it's such a dramatic change. I don't like it.
Right.
I really just don't.
Shane
like
is the
that.
Walmart bargain bin.
Yeah.
He's the cheaper of the guy, yeah.
I would be offended by that, but I've got a nice collection back there.
He went diving tonight.
So, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm probably the only person here with a DVD collection still.
I sold mine. Well, actually, I think Russ sold mine for me. He went to Entertain Mart and sold my collection for me. So
Just to get that crack?
I don't even remember why you sold mine for me. I think you were just going by there and I had them all boxed up and you said, well, I'll take them for you. I don't even remember what happened.
Well, you were moving out of the old house, and you just were like procrastinating about it. And I was like, well, I'm going to be out there anyway, so I might as well. And heck, I sold my DVDs when I moved out of the house in 2016. So I mean, like, I sold all my DVDs at that point. I haven't. I mean, I think we all have the Star Wars Blu-rays or DVDs. We all should have.
I got VHS of one of them.
I got
believe
the
it's Empire.
Stargate complete box set.
There you go. So we all have it. We have a few. I mean, I've got my Godfather still, so I still have the Godfather on DVD. But I think that and Star Wars are the only two I own. But anyway, we digress. But yeah, I mean, so $15 bargain there, Shane, and that's a maybe even.
It's only if it has all the DLCs that are available at the time.
Yeah, interesting.
Right. I think
And I don't have to reach too far in the bin.
yeah, he doesn't want to have to do the little short person thing where he's half in it with his feet sticking up out of the top of the bin. But I don't know. Unless they can change this to turn-based combat, I don't foresee me finishing it. I'm trying, but I'm getting to the point where I'm just burnt out on the combat already. I'm not a hack and slash type person. I'm a hack and slash type person when it's true RPG style and not like mass chaos party style. I don't know. I've played a lot of RPGs where you're in a party and it's, you know, like the Final Fantasy 15 and stuff like that, and the remake where you're fighting like that. This game just seems so chaotic in the combat. It even seems more chaotic than I would. Well, I guess the reason is because in Dynasty Warriors, you're leading like a troop of warriors, you know, and who cares if 2 or 3 of them die off, you know?
Yeah.
You got your group and your mass and you're losing people as you're going through and then you're swapping to different combat units. In this one, it's 5 of you against a screen full of enemies. And I'm like, where do I begin? If I don't get the ambush off, I freeze up. I don't know what it is. It's like, okay, I'm going to R2. And by that time, like half of them are dead because my team took them out. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just start hacking at something. I'll shoot something, you know? So, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, let the team do the work, then go get shawarma.
Yeah, we're going to go get shawarma or whatever that stuff Lady On was talking about in the beginning of the game. She's like, I'm going to go get a crepe with some strawberries and whipped cream and chocolate and maybe in 2 scoops of ice cream or something. I'm like, I'll go for that. We'll go for that.
I can't remember what the hell that was called.
I think it was just a crepe. She was craving crepes when you guys were searching for the first jail's girl, the girl that reminded me of
I think it was.
Wow, Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, her name is Alice. Alice in Wonderland girl.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, I mean, we can't really talk about too much without spoiling any of this stuff. I mean, because you know, I'm sure I think most of us made it through the first jail.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only a few jails.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I understand, it's shorter than Persona 5. Well, maybe not shorter, but it's less bosses and enemies because the jails are so much longer.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but we don't want to get into too much spoiler territory here. We just try to tell you about what's in it, and what the new things are versus what the old things are and what we don't like. So I'm out on the combat, but I'm probably still going to play a little bit more. I just don't know how much more. I can't beat it. That's for sure.
I think I just need to go and jump on Persona 5 and just start playing it because I have yet to start. I've been procrastinating.
It's a long
Persona
game.
5 is long.
But nah, I'm okay with that. I mean, it can be one I can just play on my own time and leisure whenever I get that.
And that's what Persona 5 is good at. I mean, because it's one you can hop in and hop out.
Good deal.
Yep, I wish life was like that. I could just hop in and hop out.
Yeah,
I need to
hop out
pause.
right now.
Oh, bummer.
I need to pause this portion of my life and go do something else, but I don't want to lose any time, so I'm going to come back.
Right.
I'm going
Right.
to put this in suspend mode. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, anybody got anything else they want
That's
to
it.
talk about Persona 5 Strikers and the Phantom Thieves?
Not at all.
No, I don't think so. I think we're pretty
All
much.
right.
It's pretty game. That's about it.
Yep. Story's great. Trouble with combat for me anyway, but we gave you our price points. Well,
So,
we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope to catch you on the next one.